London is getting ready to welcome a new Goliath to its skyline. Rising from the heart of the city, one Undershaft would be the tallest skyscraper in Western Europe, equaling the Shard. But almost a decade on from those initial plans being approved, there's no sign of any building work even starting. A new set of opinion-dividing plans were submitted at the end of 2023. But ever since, this building has found itself marred in a myriad of complaints. Throughout this year, concerns have been raised about the impact that this massive structure could have on the surrounding area, even though there are already plenty of skyscrapers on this patch. Also, part of the structure has been compared to one of these. That projecting terrace, dubbed the yogurt spoon, is proving particularly controversial. But with an ever-growing need for office space in the UK's capital, one Undershaft comes with a certain sense of inevitability. So why are we 8 years down the line on this and still not constructing a skyscraper? And why is getting big things built in London such a challenge? This is the story of the deeply controversial one Undershaft and its battle to become the UK's tallest new skyscraper. This is the City of London. Now, it's not all of London, just this little historic square mile right here. But that zone is the beating heart of the UK's business and finance sector. It's also home to a cluster of the UK's most unusual skyscrapers that might actually get you in the mood for a sandwich. It's here you'll see the Leadenhall building, better known as the Cheese Grater, the shapely 30 St Mary Act, aptly named the Gherkin, 20 Fenchurch Street, or the walkie-talkie, not that you'd want that in a sandwich, and the uniquely designed Lloyd's building, revered for its iconic architecture. And soon, replacing the building behind me, we could be looking up at a new giant of London. You see, with an ever-growing workforce and pressure to protect the city's status as a world leader, development is key. One Undershaft went before a planning committee at the start of July 2024 and approval seemed like a foregone conclusion. But rarely is construction in London that straightforward. Following a lengthy debate, the designers behind the project, Eric Parry Architects, were asked to make minor amends. Those updates are expected to go back before planners soon, which means this could finally become a building site later in 2024. Now, for context, this is what one Undershaft looked like when it was first approved way back in 2016. A 305-metre tall, 73-storey tower with a unique cross-bracing pattern nicknamed the trellis. This is what it looked like when submitted at the end of 2023, and this is what it looks like now. The latest designs see it standing at nearly 310 metres. That's 74 stories, chock-a-block with potential office, food, drink and retail space. There's also an education centre in collaboration with the Museum of London and a public garden set on a raised platform 42 metres above the ground. It'll be supported by massive steel tridents at the base. Then at the top will be the UK's highest public viewing platform, fitted with massive 3-metre-high windows. So, a public garden, more office space than you can shake a stick at, and an education centre that developers hope is going to be visited by every school child in London. It sounds like a home run, but as with any large-scale development in the UK's capital, one Undershaft and its spoon-like platform has been causing a bit of a stir. Let me take you back to 2016. Brazil was busy hosting the Olympics in Rio, Donald Trump was running for the White House, and decision-makers were giving plans for one Undershaft the green light. But fast forward to today, and as you can see, St Helens Tower still stands, just as it has done since 1969. And that's a problem, because it needs to come down to make way for Eric Parry Architects' vision. Mr. Parry said they could have gone ahead with the original plans, but following the pandemic, the city has different needs, and there's a growing demand for more well-being-led office space, hence the change in approach. But that approach hasn't exactly gone down well. Getting a skyscraper over the line and built in Europe is no mean feat. Limited space and centuries of architecture mean lofty great office towers aren't high on the agenda of those looking to protect historical sites. 2024 is Any building in London is subject to strict regulations, and with 10 million people walking around this city every day, safety is essential to every structure, both during construction and throughout the time it towers over the streets of London. Today's video sponsor, Alliance Engineering Inspection Services, the UK's largest independent inspection provider, can help with every step of that journey from the moment a building breaks ground. Working on some of London's most iconic buildings like the Tower of London, the Royal Albert Hall, Alliance Stadium in Twickenham, and much more, they're key to keeping these buildings running smoothly and, most importantly, safely. With a mountain of regulations to juggle, Alliance offers peace of mind to its customers. By scheduling regular inspections, businesses can make sure they remain compliant and avoid the risk of potential accidents. It's why they're rated 4.9 by their customers for overall satisfaction, with over 32,000 customers across the United Kingdom. Annually, and somewhat staggeringly, they inspect more than 3.9 million items to make sure everything is compliant with regulations. The UK leader in engineering inspections, Alliance vows a never-ending commitment to engineering excellence. You can learn more about Alliance Engineering Inspection Services at the link below. Now, let's get back to London. This is the square mile city of London. It's big, it's busy, it's bustling, and it might just be the hardest place to build in Britain. Just over the river, you'll find Western Europe's current tallest skyscraper, the Shard. That was completed back in 2012 by the same structural engineers that are going to be working on One Undershaft, WSP. It stands at 309.6 metres tall, exactly the same height that's planned for One Undershaft. Now, that height isn't some magic coincidence, it's actually a cap. London's height limit, or ceiling, was put in place by the Civil Aviation Authority because of the number of airports in and around this city. So how do you build something so big and tall in such a busy location? Well, helpfully, the Shard stands as a pretty useful case study. Here, a central concrete core rose first, poured by a jump course system all the way up to level 72. That was then followed by that famous tapering steel frame and a lot of glass. A steel spire weighing more than 500 tons then sits as the cherry on the top of what is effectively London's tallest cake. Using a top-down approach to the building's basement construction meant months of time could be saved by cracking on and constructing the first 23 stories above ground before the basement was fully excavated and built. Now, as things stand, renders of One Undershaft show an external structure split into 4 blocks. With WSP working across this project too, we're probably looking at a similar engineering method used here. One Undershaft will look a bit like a giant staircase, featuring a stepped massing profile spread across its nearly 2-acre site. Massive weathering steel tridents with bases of 1.5 metres by 1.5 metres will act as legs, and they'll need to be transported and built on site in sections because of their immense size. Expect that to happen under escort and at night to avoid traffic disruption. They'll all support the 4-block structure and its raised platform at level 11. It's there that you're going to find a big old chunk of the nearly 2,500 square metres of gardens. That's a move that tries to satisfy a need for public space, as seen with the neighbouring Sky Garden and the garden at 120. 16 3-metre tall shaded panoramic windows are going to offer the best views of the city. They'll also have expressed frames that project the cladding line to make sure you can take in as much of the city as possible. The upper floors will have a special treatment to try and provide a continually changing play of colour from various viewpoints. We can see how that'll feature by having a look at the nearby Fen Court, where it's already been used. But while the Shard has overlooked London's River Thames for over a decade now, its journey to construction wasn't exactly plain sailing. There were concerns about the impact of the skyline, the height of the development, and the potential for detracting from one of the city's most famous landmarks, St Paul's Cathedral. And that meant the Shard wasn't popular across the board. But there are different concerns about One Undershaft. They're led largely by Historic England, the public body that cares for and protects England's historic environment.
I think it's really important to recognise just how special the City of London is in terms of its heritage, from the Roman remains buried below the ground to, St Paul's, to the high tech of Lloyd's building. It's that kind of delicate balance between all of those things, the way in which they work together harmoniously. And I think this little square, this little piazza just outside One Undershaft is a great example of that. And that lovely little space that allows you to appreciate those, and of course the cheese grater next door. The current scheme proposes a great canopy over that, which will put that space into kind of perpetual gloom.
So this is St Helens Square. It's a public space and a popular and quite honestly cracking spot for a bit of lunch. And 42 metres above my head is where that new platform would project from One Undershaft. Now, developers say this is going to be a public garden, providing a green space for people to relax in. The problem is that Historic England argues it would shroud St Helens Square in darkness, including the churches of St Andrew Undershaft and St Helens Bishopsgate. The footprint of One Undershaft would also really eat into a large section of the square, an issue raised by the occupier of the Lloyd's building just across the road. Ahead of a planning meeting at the start of July this year, the chairman of Lloyd's, Bruce Carnegie-Brown, sent a letter to planners. He shared his concerns about the loss of public space that would be caused by his new view across the street. What followed in that planning meeting was a debate so long that committee members sitting at the back could probably have binged the B1M's last 20 videos without missing the end of the meeting. As a result, Eric Parry Architects were told they needed to make a series of minor adjustments to protect Helens Square. A group called the 20th Century Society has also voiced concerns. They told the B1M that St Helens Tower has clear heritage significance as a surviving example of the City of London's pioneering 1960s skyscrapers. Eric Parry Architects didn't respond to the B1M's request for comment. This isn't just about One Undershaft though. It speaks to a wider concern over the whole of the City of London and the impact on historical sites nearby. Protecting London's past whilst building for its future is a tricky line to tread. With a reported near 600 skyscrapers in the pipeline for the UK capital, the city is already being referred to as Manhattan on the Thames. And despite a marathon-long planning process, it looks like One Undershaft will eventually get the go-ahead. Eric Parry and his team have made multiple changes already this year in attempts to keep people happy. With only minor amends now needed before those designs can go back for approval, and with pressure building for an ever upward rising London, it feels like a matter of when and not if spades are in the ground. And when that happens, it means work will need to start here, with the deconstruction of St Helens Tower, which in itself is going to be one hell of a task. Originally built in the 1960s, the tower, also known as St Helens Skyscraper, was designed by Gollins, Melvin, Ward and Partners to create office space in the City of London. It was constructed using a concrete core, and the floors were then suspended from truss sections made of steel with the roof supporting 12 levels. It's a very unique method of construction that means it's going to need to be taken apart from the bottom floor upwards. The basement will be kept intact, as that'll be expanded outwards by the team behind One Undershaft. What can then follow is the construction of the tallest skyscraper in the history of the City of London. And the development won't stop there. This is how the city looks now, and this is what it could look like by 2030. One Undershaft is undoubtedly a massive skyscraper in the UK context. But it's actually just one of hundreds looking for planning approval in London. And as the pressure builds to give the green light to towers like this, so too will the opposition from those seeking to protect our public and historic sites. If One Undershaft is eventually approved and constructed, it won't mark the end of the debate about what shape this city should look like. Just another chapter in its long history. This video was sponsored by Alliance Engineering Inspection Services. You can find out more about that at the link below. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video and you want to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, make sure you're subscribed to the B1M.